Welcome everyone. Numbers are a hell of a thing. For those who don't know, numbers tend to give us information. For example, do you know that the peak player count for Elden Ring is greater than if you were to take all the FromSoft games since Dark Souls 1 and combine all their peak player counts together? I hope that made sense. Nonetheless, you know what that means? There's a shit ton of people played Elden Ring and had never played a game like it before. Now I know the title of the video says 3 games like Elden Ring, but the actual terminology is Souls-like. For those who don't know, that just tends to be a game that's an action RPG with a health bar or stamina bar. You lose your shit on death, and instead of being regular checkpoints, it tends to be something that replicates a bonfire. That's the gist of it. There's more nuance to it than that, but that's what we're going to be going with today. For those of you who are familiar with this, the games I'm going to be talking about might not be nothing new to you, but for those whose first experience with a Souls-like is Elden Ring, my name is FistTruck, and today I'm going to show you 3 games like Elden Ring that you should totally check out. But before you do that, you should totally check out the subscribe button and click it as well. Nioh 2, aka Samurai Souls. For those who don't know, this is a Souls-like created by Team Ninja, the creators of beloved games such as Ninja Gaiden, which I made a video about before, and Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. After the straight dumpster that was Ninja Gaiden 3, they decided to get their shit together. Nioh 2 fucks in many ways, and in some ways surpasses anything that FromSoft has ever done. Game's plot centers around feudal Japan, which in their case is kind of a good thing because that means they have to write less of the story since it's already been written. The story's pretty simple, it's not very deep, but the characters are likable, and by the end I kind of gave a shit. Level design is really cool, a lot of Japanese themed shit, but more importantly, there's a lot of variety. Levels tend to be very dense, there are often multiple ways to get to the same spot, and frequently you'll be opening up shortcuts being like, oh shit, I forgot this existed. Aside from that, compared to any Souls-like that I've played, Nioh 2's combat is by far the best, bar none. Each weapon type is wildly different from the others. The movesets are incredibly deep, incredibly varied, and to be honest, you can play through the whole game and only use one of them, and you still won't have everything unlocked for it. The best part too, and something that Nioh 2 differentiates itself from the first one, is that all the bosses are great, or at the very worst, some of them are okay. For some, Nioh might be a bit harder than the Souls games as they don't offer as many options to approach situations. Think of Elden Ring as how you can summon spirits or summon other players, all that kind of stuff. You can summon other players in Nioh, but it's not quite as easy as it is in Elden Ring, and they don't push it in your face quite the same way that Elden Ring does. Some things to consider the game doesn't necessarily do a great job of is that there's a lot of system bloat. If you ever played Path of Exile and you saw the fucking spiderweb, mess, spaghetti, meatball bullshit that they call a skill system in that game, this game kind of has something similar to it, just not as crazy. You'll be looking at your gear, seeing all the attributes associated with it, and be like, what the fuck is toughness? Not necessarily a negative, but this game doesn't have a big connected world like in the same way that Dark Souls or Elden Ring does. Each level is its own mission, and within that mission, the levels tend to be very dense and intricate. However, for people who like having a big world to explore, this might not scratch that itch. Nonetheless, Nioh 2 is a great example when a developer makes a sequel to a game, makes it better in pretty much every way than the first one, and trims a lot of the bullshit from the first game. If you haven't played it, you seriously owe yourself to play this game. This is probably one of the best Souls-likes out there and can easily stand toe-to-toe with FromSoft's work. Also, if you buy Nioh 2 now, at least on PC, it comes with all the DLC, and while I haven't played all of it, I have played most of it, and I can say that it's really good. Ashen, or what I'm going to call Buddy Souls. Developed by A44 Games, an indie studio located in New Zealand. As far as I know, this was their first game, and for a first game, that's fucking crazy, because this game's really good. I kind of don't get the story. It's a bit weird, but essentially, Ashen. That's it. I'm sorry. What I really want to get into is why I called it Buddy Souls. I played through this whole game with a friend, the same friend that I do videos with on 3HP Games YouTube channel. Anyway, we played through the whole game together, and it was one hell of an experience. One of the things that this game does that's really good is that lighting is a mechanic. I know that sounds kind of dumb, but you just kind of have to see it for yourself. When you go into caves and when it's nighttime, it's incredibly dark, like you really can't see. So when you have a buddy with you, somebody's kind of like the designated lamp person, while the other guy is a dude with a shield or has a big fuck you weapon. And while the game is definitely going to be the easiest one that I'm talking about within these 3 games, when you're spelunking with a friend, whether it be through a dungeon or a cave or just in the night, things get tense because you don't know what's like 30 feet in front of you or 40 feet in front of you because it's so dark. But on the flip side, when things go to shit, it's absolutely hilarious. Now you can play through this whole game entirely by yourself, and you can have an AI buddy with you the whole time while doing it. However, if you don't play with a friend, you're probably missing one of the best things that you could be experiencing. Combat is really simple, along with gearing and builds, if you could even call it that. It's really more about the exploration. Exploration is the gameplay. The combat is just there to supplement it. Bosses are kind of meh. There are very few of them, and for some odd reason, the last boss is like way harder than everything before it. Something that's really cool is that you start in this little settlement at the beginning of the game, and as you play through the game, more people show up to the settlement as it becomes more and more developed. This is going to be my bad, but I really don't know much about the story. The gist of it is that you're trying to find the Ashen one, not Dark Souls 3, or some shit like that. I honestly don't remember. To be honest, most of the stories I have to say about this game are the stories that came from playing it, as opposed to the stories that they told me. Nonetheless, I think you get this game for pretty cheap nowadays. Make sure to get it with a friend, play through the whole thing together, and it'll be one hell of an experience that you can't replicate anywhere else. Also, dudes don't have faces in this game. Normally I think that's fucking weird, but I'm kind of okay with it here. The Surge 2, aka Sci-Fi Souls, developed by Deck 13, creators of classics such as Lords of the Fallen and The Surge 1. Both those games suck dick. I beat Lords of the Fallen, didn't like it, played about halfway through The Surge 1, also didn't like it. Now remember that whole thing I said with Neo 2 where it was a genuine improvement over the first game? Well, at least Neo 1 was still great. So in relation to that, The Surge 2 is like a feel-good family movie. Why? Because both the games that came out prior to this one sucked ass, but this one doesn't. This one's actually really, really good, and when I first played it, I was surprised to find out how good it was. Probably the best thing about this game is its level design. Take a map like the capital city or Stormvale Castle from Elden Ring. You know how they have about 5 or 6 bonfires within that one area? Well, if those maps were done in the Surge 2, there would probably just be one bonfire in the middle, and the map would be so intertwined and interconnected and so dense that everything would somehow magically lead back to that one bonfire. And every time it would happen to be like, holy shit, how do they keep doing this? It's magic. The Surge 2 also carries over the engaging loot system from the first game. For those who don't know, you can target individual limbs on enemies, and while it may be harder to kill them based on the limb that you're targeting, when you actually do kill them by chopping off that limb or head or whatever it may be, you get a piece of loot associated with the limb that you cut off. So if you're fighting an enemy and you see they're wearing a cool piece of armor on their left arm, you just chop their left arm and take the armor for yourself. It's like the Goodwill store but with murder. And because of this, the combat's really fun because every time you get into a fight, you're thinking, which body part do I want to chop off so I could get some goodies? Though with that being said, some weapons do feel a bit too sluggish for what they are. I get if you use a big hammer or something like that, it should be slow, but in this game, you guys like, and then hits him. It's a little too long. So the plot is based around the fact that there's some sort of techno disease going around. It's a sequel of the first game, and as far as I know, the story's really fucking stupid. I tried paying attention to it a bit, but there are points where it's so dumb it's actually kind of funny. Like some random dude you talk with turns out to be the main villain for pretty much the whole game, and then another dude sends you on a mission to kill a different dude, and then after you kill the different dude, another dude betrays you in a plot twist that a fucking chimp could have seen coming, and then there's a little girl. It's pretty dumb. Also, unfortunately, one of the things that kind of sucks about this game are the bosses. There aren't very many of them, which might be a good thing considering that they're not very good. And while they do manage to weave in the whole limb targeting mechanic into the fights, I can't quite put my finger on it except saying that it feels really janky half the time, and a lot of them don't feel very engaging to fight. Also, the music for when you are fighting the bosses isn't very exciting either. Lastly, while level design is absolutely top notch and everything in the city feels so interconnected, the actual variety of locations you go to is pretty shit. The game takes place in a city, so just think of city locations. Sewers, check. Streets, check. Buildings, check. A park, probably the most colorful thing in this game, but also check. Great thing about this game is that it's been out for a while, so you get it for really, really cheap on sale, and it isn't terribly long compared to other games like this. It took about maybe 16 to 18 hours to beat it on my first playthrough. Nonetheless, the Surge 2 is the type of shit that you'd like to see. It's when you see a developer make like kind of shit to mad games and then finally make the game that you know they intended to make in the first place. This shit is really good. Alright, that was 3 games like Elden Ring that you should definitely check out. Not those low-hanging fruit to say, hey, go play Dark Souls or Bloodborne or Sekiro. However, with those games, while they are obviously great, they're going to be giving you experiences that are somewhat similar to what you get in Elden Ring, maybe aside from Sekiro. However, with these 3 games, since they're made by different developers, they'll give you unique experiences altogether. Anywho, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, like, subscribe, all that good shit. Also, if you're interested, give me a follow on twitch.tv/fisttruck. For those who have followed, considering that I haven't streamed in a bit, thank you so much. I'll see you there. Appreciate you. Shortly before or after this video goes up, there's going to be a poll on the channel. You can vote on which game I want to be streaming next week, which, by the way, will start on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Anywho, links are in the description. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.